You're listening to Life, the Universe, and Everything Else. Today on the show, Wrath of the Quiz Show.
Life, the Universe, and Everything Else explores the intersection of science and society. If you have questions or comments about the show, or you'd like to suggest a topic, you can find us on Twitter or Facebook, or send us an email at lueepodcast@winnipegskeptics.com. Show notes and references can be found at lueepodcast.com.
My name is Jem Newman, and with me today I have Laura Creek Newman.
Hi there.
Ashlyn Noble.
Hello.
And Lauren Bailey.
Hi.
So this month we are putting the pandemic behind us and just having some fun. We've each created a quiz, and we will test the other's trivial mettle.
Mostly we really miss our Tuesday evening trivia nights.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we can recapture that glory tonight. With 4 quizzes on 4 subjects, only one of which I know. So I'm just going to pass things over to Lauren, who's going to start us off with a quiz on a subject unknown.
Thanks, Jim. I was originally going to do a quiz on carceral justice and the lack of it in Manitoba, along with the recent multiple extrajudicial murders by Winnipeg police. But that's a nuanced topic that really isn't suited for a fun quiz show. So I asked myself, WWJD, as in, what would Jeff do? Where Jeff is Jeff Sinclair, creator of our favorite local trivia night that we all miss. And I came up with words.
Sweet.
Jeff would
I
do
love them.
words.
Or landforms. That's the other option.
The quiz topic that almost broke our team.
Well, anyway, here's a quiz of amusing words in the English language, based on some listicles that all seem to have cannibalized each other. Our first word, macrosmatic. Adjective. A. Having a good sense of smell. B. Having a good memory. C. Having a large vocabulary. Or D. Having a good sense of touch.
Who has to go first?
You can go first.
Shit.
Do you want to pass?
Ashlyn first.
So, if it was macrosomatic, I totally would have gone with sense of touch, but now I don't know.
Macrosmatic.
I'm still going to go with sense of touch. Ugh,
Okay.
not confident.
Jem?
I was going to say the exact same thing as Ashlyn. Macrosomatic, I would say touch. Somatosensory being the feeling of your body. But macrosmatic. I'm going to have to go with a sense of smell, I guess.
Okay. And Laura?
I'm going with A, sense of smell.
Okay. Macrosmatic. A. Having a good sense of smell.
Yay!
Yeah, it goes kind of, it sounds a lot like anosmic or whatever,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Anosmia, yep.
So Jem and Laura both have 1 point. This is out of 10, by the way. Word 2. Diponophobia. Noun. A. A morbid fear of new policies. B. A morbid fear of stomach aches. C. A morbid fear of dinner parties. D. A morbid fear of travel guides. Laura.
No. I'm going to have to go with A, the morbid fear of new policies, just because that is a hilarious thing to have a morbid fear of.
Jem.
I think it's a completely reasonable thing to have a morbid fear of.
God.
I have a morbid fear of new words.
That's not true.
I don't want to just draft in Laura's wake. But
Hey, maybe I know where I'm going. Huh?
I'm going to go with D, morbid fear of travel guides. Why not?
Okay. And Ashlyn.
I'm going to go with fear of dinner parties because that's the funniest one.
Okay. And Ashlyn is correct.
Yeah!
God.
Diponophobia is a morbid fear of dinner parties.
Oh my goodness.
Our next word, word 3, is fudgel. Verb. A. Pretending to read. B. Pretending to sleep. C. Pretending to work. Or D. Pretending to draw. Fudgel. Jem.
C, pretending to work.
Okay. Laura?
I'm also going to say pretending to work.
Ashlyn?
Pretending to draw.
And the Newmans
Oh.
have it. Pretending to work. Word 4. Groak. Verb. A. Groak. A. To fart and wait until someone notices. B. To look at someone while they are eating with hope that they will give you some. C. To smile out of politeness and not because of actual humor. Or D. To hold your nose. Laura?
Oh, I like a lot of these definitions.
Why, thank you. I fudged all afternoon thinking of them.
Yeah, I pretty much fudged my 8-hour day as well. Okay, I'm going to go with B because I think it's very funny.
Okay. Jem?
B through D all seem plausible to me.
You don't think it's about a fart?
I'm just
No, I
curious
hope it's
as to
about
why the definition would include and wait until somebody notices. Not just like hope nobody notices or whatever.
No, haven't you
But
ever
specifically, you have
haven't
to...
you ever farted
Absolutely
and then
not.
waited until some
Nope.
No?
No.
You're a better person than I am, Jeff.
I've done this a couple times now, but I think I'm going to go with C, even though I feel like B is actually slightly more likely.
So
But
to
I'm
smile
going
out
to
of
try to
politeness?
game it and go with smile out of politeness.
Okay. And Ashlyn.
I'm also really torn between B and C. I feel like I do B a lot.
Do B or not do B? That is the question.
Oh, God.
And it's a lot like grok, which is like to understand. I'm going to go with C.
To smile out of politeness. All right. And the answer? To look at someone while they
Ah,
were eating
damn
with the
it.
hope that they will give you some. So
like it.
Laura got that one right. Laura's kicking some butt here. Question 5. Gentacular. Adjective. A. Pertaining to noon. B. Pertaining to breakfast. C. Pertaining to brunch. D. Pertaining to midnight. Gentacular. I forget who goes first.
C, pertaining to brunch.
Ashlyn says pertaining to brunch. Jem.
I feel like someone named Jen coined this term about brunch with her friends.
And somehow Oxford accepted it.
Are these from Oxford, or are they just things you found on the internet, Lauren?
They're from some listicles.
Okay,
Okay.
so they
I
could
did
be
not
anything.
I did not
Understood.
do a lot of deep dives into them. Jem.
I'm also going to go with pertaining to brunch.
Brunch. Okay. Laura.
I'm going to go breakfast.
And once again, Laura is the one.
Damn it.
Woo!
No, this is an older word, and it actually your
Oh,
gentacular cup of tea.
déjeuner.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. Actually, it was my little bit of Portuguese that I still retain that got me triggered on that.
Nice. All right. Word 6. Choir. Noun. A. A small swamp. B. A question. C. A puddle that stays after spring rains. Or D. 24 or 25 sheets of paper. Laura.
B seems really obvious. I love C. It's just such a lovely, lovely thought there. D. I'll go with C. Why not?
Ashlyn.
D.
And Jem.
I am also certain that it is D.
And this time Laura's wrong. 24 or 25 sheets of paper is a choir.
Why is it not one of those numbers, but
Because
both of
it's
them?
an actual historical term and not something that Lauren made up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
It's
figured
like
as
the
much.
papers that you fold over and it becomes one section of a book. Like when you have fancy book-bound books, it's one of those sections.
Oh,
It's
okay.
a choir.
I love looking at the spine of a book and just looking at all of those pleasant
Yeah.
All the little
folds.
bundles.
Word 7. Erinaceous. Adjective. A. Of, pertaining to, or resembling feeling ill. B. Of, pertaining to, or resembling someone who is Irish. C. Of, pertaining to, or resembling a hedgehog. D. Of, pertaining to, or resembling a road barrier. Erinaceous. We'll start with Ashlyn.
B seems like the most obvious, and I don't have any reason to not choose it, so I'll pick B.
B. Oh, right. Laura.
I agree that B seems the most obvious, but I'm wondering if it's a decoy. I'll go with A.
A. And Jem.
C. Of pertaining to or resembling a hedgehog.
And Jem gets it.
No. Did you know that for sure, Jem?
I was 85% sure, so no.
Erinaceous is pertaining to or resembling a hedgehog.
What is the root of that?
No clue. Again, I did
Jem?
no follow-up.
I know, I'm asking Jem how he knew.
Oh, I don't know. It just seemed correct to me. After this, I will go and look up the Linnaean taxonomy for hedgehogs and related organisms, because it seemed like a taxonomical or related to a taxonomical name. I don't know.
Yeah, I wasn't sure whether to do all of the decoys as taxonomical names or whatever, but the Ireland one was just too good to pass up.
It is related to the taxonomical name for hedgehog.
Yeah, that does not surprise me.
Yeah, I was going
That
to go
made
back and look all
sense,
these
yeah.
up, but then I was like, I'd rather have a nap. So, all right. Question 8. Cabotage. Noun. A. Exclusive right of a country to control air traffic within its borders. B. Exclusive right of a country to control cabbage distribution. C. Exclusive right of a country to control citizenship. Or D. Exclusive right of a country to control tariffs. Cabotage. Noun. Ashlyn.
I feel like I have heard this word, and it was probably on like an NPR politics podcast or something. So I'm gonna go with D, because it sounds really boring.
Laura.
I'm also going to go with D.
All right. And Jem.
Sadly, I am also going to go with D.
Sweep.
Damn
Oh!
Well, that's
Cabotage.
also very boring.
Cabotage is the exclusive right of a country to control air traffic within its borders.
Now I know.
Question 9. Yarborough. Noun. A. A hand of cards containing no card below a 10. B. A hand of cards containing the top point value for that game. C. A hand of cards containing no card above a 9. Or D. A hand of cards containing the wrong amount of cards. Yarborough. Jem.
I'm gonna go with D, and the reason for that is it really seems like something that's named after somebody, and it's just a dude who could like not draw the. Oh, you Yarborough'd it again! Come on.
But remember, Gentacular was not about Jen and her brunch. So
That's true. I'm still
But
gonna
it
go
will
with D.
be soon, I'm sure.
Ashlyn.
So I think that Yarborough was the last name of Hank from Corner Gas, and he was not a real bright fellow, so I'm gonna go with C.
Hand of cards containing no card above a 9.
Yeah.
All right. And Laura.
I'm going to go with B.
B? Mm-hmm. All right. The top point value for that game.
Dang.
What? Did you
Oh,
look-
I thought that was the answer.
Nope.
I should be so lucky.
Ashlyn, you got it right. It's a hand of cards containing no
Okay.
card above a 9.
Now I gotta
Well
look
done.
up whether that was his actual name in Corner Gas. No, it was Yarbo. I mean, it's close. It's the first 5 letters, but I don't know if it was at all related.
Apparently this term is still well used. Like, it's still used a lot in bridge. I'd never heard it before I looked it up today. All right. And our final question. Our final word. Half pace. Noun. A. A quick step where you get back in tandem with the group. B. A small landing where you turn and take another flight of stairs. C. A military command to slow below walking speed. D. A dance step to turn you 180 degrees. Half pace. Laura.
I think I'm going to go with C, the military command.
Okay. Jem.
I really like B and C, but if C is correct and I choose it, I probably can't beat Laura, so I'm going to go with B.
All
I
right.
like it better anyway.
Ashlyn.
So I think C seems the most likely, but I also think that B seems like the one most likely to be in a listicle. So I'm gonna choose B.
And Ashlyn and Jem get it.
Oh,
A half
really?
pace is a small landing where you turn and take another flight of stairs.
That's called a landing, though. It has a name already. You don't need another name.
But it's not a full landing. It's like the landing. It's like the landing you guys have on your stairs going upstairs.
We have like 3 of those, kind
Yeah.
of.
Like, are you talking about the triangular stair?
Yeah.
Or are you talking about the one that's an actual landing?
No, the one
Or-
that's about halfway up there, where you turn.
Oh, the triangular stair.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's called a
It's
half
just a
pace.
wide stair. Or a narrow stair, depending on which side of it you're looking at.
Well, it's a half pace either way. So for our standings, out of 10, Jem has 5, Laura has 4, and Ashlyn has 4. Jem's game playing at the last question put him ahead.
Oh,
Jem wins this round.
I didn't realize I started doing so poorly. Oh, I'm very disappointed now.
And that's Lauren's list of weird and interesting English words. English just rifles through other languages' pockets after it beats them up, so we really don't have many.
Yes.
That's my quiz.
Nice.
That was fun. Thanks, Lauren. So next I'm going to go, and we are going to learn all about the wonderful world of computers.
No wonder it's something you could do off the top of your head.
Yeah, how did I select this topic? I don't know, I was having trouble falling asleep. And then I pulled out my phone and wrote down all of the questions and all of the answers.
How many questions did you end up with, Jem?
I ended up with 12, and then some bonus questions, and I pared it down.
Some bonus questions.
The thing that took me longest, actually, was selecting all of the incorrect answers.
Yeah.
Because
That's
I
always
wanted
hard.
to make them actually, in a lot of cases, actually correct for something else. If you have any questions before, after, during any of these, please speak up. I love talking about this stuff, as our listeners are about to discover. Sorry.
If they haven't learned it by now, they never will.
So question 1. C is one of the most enduring programming languages in the world. Where did it get its name? Oh, Ashlyn first.
Are we just making up answers?
Oh, right, I should probably give you the options.
Yeah, do I have to just come up with this?
Like the closest
not
to the
gonna
real
end
one
well.
gets the point, or what?
I know this answer, you don't? Okay. Oh, tired, need some sleep. Okay. So where did C get its name? A, it was designed as a successor to B. B, it was developed at Cisco Systems and named for the company's initial. C, its original name was CPL for Computer Programming Language, which was subsequently shortened to C. Or D, it was an inside joke. Its syntax went through 67 iterations before being finalized for 1.0, and computers at the time, and today, represent the number 67 as the letter C. So Ashlyn first.
All of these seem very plausible. But so successor to B isn't interesting. I'm going to go with the inside joke one.
So D,
Yeah.
67 iterations. Okay. Laura.
I think it's the successor to B.
Laura goes with A, and Lauren.
A, it's the successor to B.
And the lores are correct.
Damn it. Should have gone with the obvious uninteresting one.
Yeah, computer people are generally not that funny.
So it was not developed at Cisco, but instead at Bell Labs, which also developed B. A factoid that developers will often throw around is that C is named after B, but that B is named after Bell Labs, but that also appears to be incorrect. C's original name wasn't CPL, for Computer Programming Language, but B was probably named after BCPL, which stands for Basic Combined Programming Language. And finally, 67 is indeed the code point for the capital letter C in ASCII, but to the best of my knowledge, C's syntax did not go through 67 iterations, though I'm sure it's gone through much more than that by now. I stole that little factoid from WD-40, which went through 67 iterations, I guess.
C with 67 pluses after it would be a heck of a lot of work.
Yeah. C plus 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 plus. Question 2. Fax is short for facsimile. What year was the fax machine invented? A, 1982. B, 1969. C, 1938. Or D, prior to 1900. Laura.
1938.
Okay. Lauren.
Prior to 1900.
Ashlyn.
I know that it's way earlier than it seems possible, so I don't know whether to choose prior to 1900 or the next earliest one. But I remember reading about this and being like, but how? Was there even electricity? So I'm gonna go with prior to 1900.
And Lauren and Ashlyn are correct. It was
Yeah.
invented prior to 1900. The answer is D. You'll notice that I had to be non-specific in my answer, since it depends on your definition of fax machine. But everyone can agree that it was in the 19th century. Well,
So-
most everyone.
How does that even work then? If
I will
they're
explain.
okay.
Oh, you thought I was just going to let it lie? No.
Of course not.
Alexander Bain of Scotland received the patent for his electric printing telegraph in 1843.
Dang.
His design was subsequently improved by Frederick Bakewell and then Giovanni Caselli, who invented the pentelegraph in 1865 and commercialized it. The primary purpose of the pentelegraph was to verify bank signatures from long distances. All of these machines predate the invention of the telephone, but all have a similar flaw that makes them less than identical to modern fax machines, and that is that they couldn't actually scan an existing document. What they would do is they would require the user to actually write something, and they would transmit what was written or drawn. So basically the user would manipulate a stylus, and that information would be transmitted and would sort of draw the same thing on the other end. It wasn't until 1880 that the first scanning phototelegraph machine was constructed by English inventor Shelford Bidwell.
That is super cool.
That is cool, but when I hear stories like this, I'm just like, it seems like these things are really out of sync. I don't know. It's very confusing to my modern brain. How seemingly more advanced things came before less advanced things, but then the more advanced things also had, I don't know.
Well, almost all of our technologies that we use today are sort of based on the basic universal computer that we use. And so they're all just computers that are programmed to do different things. Now, it's obviously an oversimplification, but the vast majority of technologies that we interact with are computationally based. Whereas before, people just had to figure out sort of one-off applications in a lot of ways. And so you were able to do specific things without computers, where now you would just use computers. And you can do almost anything.
There's a board game called Timeline that I've never played, but sounds really interesting, where you basically get the table gets a hand of 5 or 6 things, and you just have to put them in the order that they happened or were invented, and it's apparently way harder than it sounds.
Question 3. Have you ever right-clicked on a website and opened up the inspector to examine a page's source code?
Yes.
It can be very useful for getting around paywalls. Anyway, if you did, and you happened to see a number sign followed by 6 Fs, what would that represent? Is it A, a preprocessor directive, B, the color white, C, an instruction to display elements inline instead of block style, or D, the insertion point for an external script? Lauren.
The color white.
Ashlyn.
Absolutely the color white.
Laura.
I was going to say the same thing, although I would like to add an option E as an, if we're going to make tons of money off this.
It is indeed B, the color white. I'll go through the explanation.
I don't know why. That one just seemed
obvious.
reasonable. So please explain. I don't know why. I have no idea why that would be.
Oh, okay.
Hexadecimal code.
See,
Yeah,
I've heard
it is
those
indeed.
words, but I don't actually know what that is either.
It is indeed a hex code, hexadecimal. Neither HTML nor JavaScript use preprocessor directives. They're interpreted rather than compiled. And the instruction to display elements inline is the rather reasonable display : inline, not #FFFFFF. Oh, and scripts are inserted via script tags. The number sign, or octothorpe, or hash, as it's most commonly called in computer science, indicates that the number that follows is hexadecimal, or base 16. For yes, indeed, FFFFFF is a number. Specifically, the number 16,777,215. But it would be more accurate to say that it's 3 numbers side by side, representing a color in red, green, blue values. FF, FF, FF. or 255 out of 255 for red, 255 out of 255 for green, and 255 out of 255 for blue. So mix the brightest possible red with the brightest possible green with the brightest possible blue, and you get white.
Cool.
So I was only super sure about that one because a lot of people of color on Facebook use hashtag FFFFFF to refer to white people so that they don't get banned by Facebook for talking about white people.
That's great. Question 4. The programming language Ada is named for Augusta Ada King. Who was she? A. The developer of Flowmatic, the first programming language written in anything resembling English. B. A senior codebreaker at Bletchley Park during the Second World War. C. The developer of the flight software for the Apollo space program. Or D. A mathematician credited with publishing the very first algorithm. We'll start with Ashlyn.
Again, all sound plausible. I don't know how old this code would be. Flight software.
Okay. Ashlyn goes with C. Laura.
I'm going to go with B, the Bletchley Park one.
B, the
Yeah.
Bletchley Park. Okay. And Lauren.
D.
The mathematician. And Lauren is correct.
So, whoa. Is this Ada Lovelace?
Yep.
Yes, it is.
You
Okay.
liar!
Yeah.
Not fair.
Well, there's
'Cause
probably
I
more
knew
than one
that,
Ada
and I'm
out
like,
there.
no,
I know.
exactly. You cheap. Go ahead and explain to our audience, cheap ass gem.
So I had to give her name, the name she was not born with. Better known as Ada Lovelace. She was the daughter of Lord Byron.
Yeah, you had to give her
okay.
some random names so that we
No,
didn't
I
know.
gave her her actual name. That's her name. Her name was Augusta Ada King. She's better known these days as Ada Lovelace, but Lovelace was not her last name. Ada Lovelace was the daughter of Lord Byron and the wife of William King, the Earl of Lovelace. Her name was Augusta Ada King, Countess Lovelace. She's best known for her work on Charles Babbage's analytical engine, a proposed mathematical computer. She was the first to theorize that Babbage's computer could be used for more than simple mathematical calculation, and is sometimes credited as the first computer programmer, despite the fact that the analytical engine was never actually functional. Ada Lovelace did publish the very first algorithm on record, and she's probably one of the few pioneering women in the field of computer science that most computer scientists can actually name. But and Laura, of course, is familiar with Ada Lovelace, and that's why I gave her completely correct and accurate name rather than the one she's most known by. But all of the rest of these accomplishments that I listed are also attributed to women in the history of computer science. The chief architect of Flowmatic, which led to the development of COBOL and had a huge influence on all modern programming languages, was Rear Admiral Dr. Grace Hopper. Joan Clark worked alongside Alan Turing at Bletchley Park as a codebreaker, and the development of Apollo's in-flight software was led by Margaret Hamilton, who also coined the term software engineering to describe her work. In fact, a lot of the early work in computer software was done by women.
The term computer actually meant one who computes, as in one who would process it. It wasn't the machine. It was the person, usually a woman, who did it.
Yep, absolutely. There, we had an illustration in an old office that I worked at of a room full of computers, and it was human computers. It was people doing calculations. Question 5. How many bits are in a byte? A, 2, B, 8, C, 64, or D, 256? Laura.
256, I think.
Lauren.
Oh, God, I can never remember. Yeah, I'm going to say 256. I'm probably wrong.
And Ashlyn.
8?
Ashlyn is correct.
Yep.
Yes.
8 bits to a byte. I don't really have anything to add for this one. It's a number.
It seems like this is just something you just have to remember. Like,
So-
is there a reason for that? Does it come down to binary or something?
A byte is an arbitrary construct. It's kind of like asking how many centimeters are in a meter. It's just a matter of definition. Question 6. What is Tim Berners-Lee credited with inventing? Is it A, the internet, B, the World Wide Web, C, the social network, or D, the artificial neural network? We'll start with Lauren.
He is the inventor of the World Wide Web.
Ashlyn?
I probably would have said the internet if I had just had a free answer. But Lauren seems very confident, and I don't know that I would differentiate in my head between the internet and the World Wide Web, even though I know they're different. So I'll go with B.
You'll go with B, the World Wide Web?
Yeah.
Okay, and Laura?
I was also going to go with the World Wide Web.
Okay, you're all correct.
Woohoo!
Because Al Gore invented the internet.
Gosh. Berners-Lee developed HTML, which is the language of the static internet, at least, and wrote the first web browser. On the 20th of December, 1990, he published the world's first web page, which was a description of how the web itself worked. Mm-hmm. While many people, including Ashlyn, now see the World Wide Web as synonymous with the internet. Sorry, I know, Ashlyn, you know that they're different.
I wanted to get that in there.
Yeah. This isn't the case. They are not the same. It is the case that they are different. The internet predates the web by decades. Email, news groups, file sharing protocols, and many other communication services use the internet, but not the web. As always, it's a little bit more complicated than this, but basically, if you're going to view it in a web browser, it's part of the World Wide Web. That's not precisely true, but it's close enough. And things like email, the email protocol doesn't use the web. You can send an email without a web page, but most people now, because all of the standalone, or a lot of the standalone mail clients are not very popular these days, but you can go to a web page to send an email, but the sending and receiving of the email does not use the web.
I'm not sure I've ever sent an email without using a web page.
Really?
How would you do that?
You would use like Outlook, for example.
Oh, okay, then I do that constantly on a daily basis at work.
No, I've never had an Outlook account.
Well, you can use Outlook with your Gmail account, because your Gmail account does not actually use the web, unless you view it in a web page. Question 7. While we always talk about kilobytes, megabytes, and gigabytes, which would be 1,000, 1 million, and 1 billion bytes using the short count, respectively, most of the time, what we actually mean are kibibytes, mibibytes, and gibibytes.
Why?
How many bytes are in a kibibyte? Is it A, 500, B, 512, C, 998, or D, 1024? Ashlyn.
1024.
Laura.
I was also going to say 1024.
And Lauren.
1024.
Any, I'm sure Lauren knows this. Anyone else want to venture a guess as to why 1024?
So multiple of 8?
No, it's a multiple of 512, and it has to do with the base 8 thing as opposed to the base 10, which is like kilo, mega, giga.
Well, it has to do with the base 2 thing specifically. But yes, basically, if you're going to line up a bunch of bits, a bunch of transistors, the largest number that you can represent is going to be a multiple of 2. If you're working from base 2, which only has 0 or 1, just like our base 10 only has 0 through 9, it doesn't have an individual digit for 10. You use 2 digits for that. If you're going to represent a number in base 2 and you want to use all of the digits and not waste any, you're always going to end up with a largest possible number that is divisible by 2 minus 1. So God, this explanation is not going well.
No. Not. You've explained this to me before in a way that it made sense. So it's possible, Jem. You have done it before.
It takes a long time to explain, and I didn't have the time to actually prepare this explanation. This is why I was running late.
It's 2 to the 10th power, and math is weird.
Yeah. So it is 2 to the 10th power, whereas 1,000 is 10 to the 3rd power. So
Okay, thank you, Lauren.
Yeah. I would love to explain why the fact that it is 2 to the somethingth power is important, but it basically means if you only used 1,000 of the bytes rather than using all 1024 in your kibibyte, then you would be wasting 24 bytes. You would just be ignoring them because of the way these things are architected in binary. Okay, let's talk about zero indexing. Question 8.
What?
Yeah, my thoughts exactly.
Question 8. What is zero indexing?
So this is going to go well for me.
Is it A, a method of counting in which the first element is assigned the number 0 rather than 1, or B, an exception, that is to say an error, that occurs when an application attempts to access memory that is out of range, C, a method of writing a program that describes computational logic without control flow, or D, an error that occurs when an application accesses memory that has been written out to disk and must be fetched. We'll start with Ashlyn. Oh no, we started with Ashlyn last time. You have a reprieve, Ashlyn. We'll start with Laura.
I think it's the first one where we start with 0. That was A, right?
That was A. Lauren.
Starting with 0. A.
Ashlyn.
I also think it's the first one, and I feel like you've complained about this in regards to how programs deal with time, but that could be some other thing.
You're all correct.
Yay! Woohoo!
Zero indexing, or zero-based numbering, is the way most programming languages work. And basically means when you're counting things, the first thing is assigned is thing number 0, and the second thing is thing number 1. And so you'll often hear programmers refer to the 0th element of something, and that annoys me, because even though it is an element assigned the index 0, it is still the first element, because that's how language works. Anyway, and when you're talking about my complaints about dates, Ashlyn, you might be thinking of ISO 8601. You're probably thinking about ISO 8601, which defines the way dates are represented computationally and has a bunch of very weird quirks. Like, for example, it defines a year 0, and the year 0 is 1 BCE. The year -1 in ISO 8601 parlance is 2 BCE, etc.
What? Okay.
And
Time
because
is weird.
it uses a back-propagated Gregorian calendar, the year 0 is also a leap year. And so
We're
some
behind
programming
already.
languages, like MATLAB, when they also don't distinguish between date times and time deltas, or at least MATLAB didn't a while ago when I used it. And so if you add a year to something, you're adding 366 days, because you're not adding any year, you're adding the first year, which was year 0, which definitely existed and was definitely a leap year. I had a lot of fun when the Julia language was still pre 1.0. I added some code to the base library involving time manipulation. That was lots of fun and is very cool. So as for the rest of these answers, an exception that occurs when an application attempts to access memory that is out of range is called a segmentation fault. A method of writing a program that describes computational logic without control flow is declarative programming. One of the 3 primary forms of programming. You have declarative programming, which describes what is, functional programming, which describes how things work, I guess you would put it. Everything is a method of doing something. And then finally, imperative programming, which is almost all programming languages that anyone has ever heard of. And that just is it only describes control flow. It just describes a sequence of instructions to do in a specific order.
Things that were, things that are, and some things that have not yet come to pass.
And finally, D, the error that occurs when an application accesses memory that has been written out to disk and must be fetched. That is a page fault. And it's not an error. It's technically a fault because of the way it interrupts control flow, I think, but it just means you're using some virtual memory, and so this information is going to be retrieved much more slowly than usual. Okay, that's enough babbling about that. Question 9. What was George Boole's contribution to computing? A. He laid out the principles of Boolean logic. B. He developed the binary search algorithm. C. He invented the Boolean transistor. Or D. He wrote the first known non-deterministic computational function. Lauren.
Boolean algebra.
Ashlyn.
Boolean logic.
Okay. And Laura.
I want to say logic, but what do you mean by transistor? You've said that word a lot, and I feel like it means different things, and I don't understand.
So a transistor is used in a little bit of a fuzzy way these days, but in computers, the physical machines, a transistor is like a physical gate that either impedes the flow of electricity or allows it through. It's a gate.
It's a switch,
And
kind of?
yeah, it's a switch, yeah. And it represents either an on state or an off state. Now, when we refer to transistors these days, you can refer to virtual transistors, and you can also refer to the things that are actually in your computer that may or may not actually be transistors. I don't know whether from a computer engineering perspective, they're still technically transistors. That's something that I would have to look up. But
Okay.
When I say transistor, I just mean in the general sense, I mean the physical device called a Boolean transistor.
Yeah, I'll go with the logic, I guess.
I didn't dazzle you with my nonsense, did I? I was describing a transistor. There is, as far as I know, nothing that is referred to as a Boolean transistor. Boole did lay out the principles of Boolean logic in the mid-19th century. And Boolean logic, or as Lauren astutely referred to it, Boolean algebra, is basically the mathematics of logic and the mathematics of determining truth states, and it is completely wonderful. It basically undergirds all of formal logical discourse, and it's great. It is also basically a fundamental requirement for the way computers function. It is used in determining control flow. It is used in determining mathematics and defining concepts, because all of those things are fundamentally control flow when you understand how computers work, despite what declarative computation will have you believe. Control flow is kind of primary because of gates and transistors. Anyway, let's end this travesty with question 10. Which of the following is an accurate description of the Dvorak keyboard layout? A. A layout in which 13 letter keys are placed equidistant to each of the user's index fingers. B. A layout that's split down the middle and angled with the aim of reducing repetitive strain, also known as the natural keyboard. C. A layout in which the first 6 letters are D, V, O, R, A, and K. Or D. A keyboard layout most common in Eastern Europe named for Czech composer Antonin Dvorak. I'll start with Ashlyn.
Split down the middle.
Laura.
C, the DVO, however you spell Dvorak.
And Lauren.
A.
And Laura is correct. It is the layout with the first 6 letters are D, V, O, R, A, and K.
Yeah, I know this because my coworker has one of those, and I looked at him like, what the F?
What's the one that's split down the middle then? I thought that was a Dvorak.
No, that's just
It's called a natural keyboard.
God
But I
damn
used
it.
I
Yeah, I know you have one at work.
thought the Dvorak was just the one that had the middle row with the most common letters.
I did not say a middle row with the most common letters. I said a layout in which 13 letter keys are placed equidistant to each of the user's index fingers. So that would have to be a circular layout, I believe. And
Yeah, that sounds extremely awkward.
it's based on some actual proposed keyboard layouts. There are a few really interesting keyboard layouts. There are some with raised and lowered keys. I think it was Eric had a really cool keyboard in which both of their arms sat kind of cradled, and there's a bunch of thumb involvement for use of control keys. There are a lot of interesting keyboard layouts. Dvorak is not one of them. Dvorak is a keyboard layout that looks, if you don't look at the actual stickers on the keys or what have you, it looks like a standard keyboard, but the letters are just in different order. And it has been proposed as a faster method of typing. One of the considerations that was made when developing the QWERTY keyboard, which is also named for the first 6 letters on the keyboard, if you look at the row above your home row, one of the considerations in designing the QWERTY keyboard was slowing down typing to some degree to prevent typewriter keys from jamming, because if 2 consecutive keys are pressed in quick succession, the the type heads, what are those called? I'm not a typewriter enthusiast, but the heads will jam together because they descend and move closer together as they're trying to hit the exact same spot on the paper, right? And so you don't want consecutive keys to be pressed in close succession.
So I've heard that a lot, but I also have heard that that is a myth.
So, okay. So you don't want consecutive keys pressed commonly in close succession. However, you also don't necessarily want to slow down the process of typing words. And when you test people who are natural Dvorak users or native Dvorak users, people who've trained themselves to use Dvorak keyboards, and people who are trained to use QWERTY keyboards, they type at essentially the same rate. Dvorak keyboard users are not, as far as we can tell, any faster typists than QWERTY keyboard users.
No, but the standard is like your QWERTY, your fingers are gonna travel like 26 times more than on a Dvorak keyboard.
Now we have come to the bonus section.
Didn't you just say we were ending this travesty?
I know,
Yeah.
I lied.
This is, yeah. Okay, cool, Jem. What kind of bonus do you have for us?
I have 3 initialisms and 2 acronyms.
Oh no.
And I would like you to tell me what they stand for. So I would like everybody to write these things down, if you could, so that there's no influence from the people who are guessing first or last. But before we do this, I'm just going to tally our score so far. So the standings right now are Laura with 7, Ashlyn with 7, and Lauren with 8.
Dang.
So
We're
there
close.
are 5 bonus points up for grabs. What I need you to do is write down what the following things stand for, and then I'll have you each read them out one at a time. IP, as in IP address. CPU, HTTP, RAM, and ASCII. I will spell that one for you in case you're not aware. ASCII. What do they stand for? I'm going to start with Laura.
IP, I think, is Internet Provider. CPU is Central. I want to say Central Processing Unit. I know it's Processing Unit. I can get 2/3 points for that one.
I'm afraid that's not how this works, but please go ahead.
I will take a 2/3 point. HTTP is, hey there, too pretty. RAM is, I think it's rapid access memory. And ASCII, I don't know. I've heard
Okay.
it before, and I cannot remember at all, and I can't come up with something.
Ashlyn.
Okay. IP, Internet Protocol? Don't know. CPU, Computer Processing Unit? But I like Laura's idea, so I kind of wanted to steal that, but that's why you made us write it down. HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol, I think,
Oh,
maybe.
nice.
RAM is Random Access Memory. That's the one I'm the most confident about, but still not 100%. ASCII, even when I used to be super into the art, I had no idea what it meant, and I still have not even a single guess as to what it could possibly be.
And Lauren.
IP is Internet Protocol. CPU is Central Processing Unit. HTTP is Hypertext Transfer Protocol. RAM is Random Access Memory. And ASCII is, I think it's American Standard Code for Information Interchange or Interchange? Yeah. Interchange. Yeah, we'll go with interchange.
And Lauren swept it.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yep. Internet Protocol, Central Processing Unit, Hypertext Transfer Protocol, Random Access Memory, and the American Standard Code for Information Interchange.
Hey, I feel pretty good about my showing.
Interchange was a I had to pull that one out of the ROM.
Yeah. So you can't remember anything else ever. Nope. You can only access. Yeah. ROM, incidentally, is read-only memory. So, so Laura ends the game. I'm sorry, it was very close until the bonus round. Laura ends the game with 8 points, Ashlyn with 10, and Lauren with a whopping 13. Congratulations, everyone. Thanks for playing.
Thank you, and I'm still going to kick myself over bits and bytes for forever.
But you won, so it's okay.
You could
that's
also
okay.
go and make yourself some bits and bytes the snack and then be fine.
Oh, yeah. With those little cheese sticks, clearly the best piece.
I would love to introduce you, Laura, but like all of the other quizzes, I have no idea what yours is about. So please, take it away.
My quiz is all about Canadian roadside attractions and small town claims to fame.
Nice.
So
We're back to the CanCon. That's great.
it's good, and I made sure to have a healthy Manitoba representation in there. If you know your Canadian small towns, maybe this will be really easy. But here we go. Question number 1. The town of Coombs, BC, is known for the Old Country Market, a bakery / general store / gift shop / market that can be distinguished by what on the roof? A. Windmills. B. Sculptures. C. Goats. Now let's start with Ashlyn.
Goats. I hope it's goats.
Jem.
Okay, so the inclusion of sculptures as a separate category implies that these goats are live goats?
Absolutely.
I'm going to leave that up to you, Jem.
Okay, goats.
Lauren. You are all correct.
Yay!
So-
is it a grass roof?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So the building has a sod roof. And so back in the 70s, the goats were actually just borrowed to trim the roof for a while. And then the tourists loved it. And so now they have goats that live on the property and their job is to continually trim the roof. Okay. Next question. Flin Flon, Manitoba is named after a fictional character from the 1905 paperback novel The Sunless City, in which the protagonist finds a strange new underground world. How did the protagonist venture to the new world? A. Through a series of interconnected silver-lined caves. B. By digging deep into a gold mine shaft after seeing daylight shine through a crack in the floor. C. Using a submarine to follow a gold-lined passage in a lake bed. Let's go with Lauren first.
Well, I know there's like actual tunnels under actual Flin Flon. So did you say there was one about tunnels? Sorry.
I did. Well, I said, A is a series of caves, and B is by digging into a gold mine shaft.
Series of caves, then.
Okay. Ashlyn.
I also think series of caves sounds good.
Okay. And Jem.
I feel like this would be very boring if we just all chose the same one each time. So I'm going to choose B.
Okay. And none of you are correct.
Aw.
So in the book, The Sunless City, the protagonist uses a submarine to explore a seemingly bottomless lake and finds a gold-lined passage in the lake bed and follows this passage and then finds a strange world that is ruled by women.
What a topsy-turvy world this is.
It was 1905. Okay, so here's my bonus question. What is the full name of the protagonist?
Flin Flon Flanders.
Ashlyn.
Flin Flon.
And Lauren.
Flin Flon the Jellicle Cat.
Oh, that is very close, but no. No, the protagonist's full name is Josiah, or just Flintabaddy Floniton. Flin Flon for short.
So there's absolutely no way for us to know that without having read this book recently.
No, there is. Because if you go anywhere related, any kind of website related to talking about the history of the town of Flin Flon, this is plastered all over it. And there was a Canadian Heritage vignette all about it, which I watched during Saturday morning cartoons. It was produced in 78
I
or
loved
something
those
like
Heritage
that.
Minutes, but I don't remember that one.
It's
Yeah.
not a Heritage Minute. It is a short doc, or not even a short doc. It's a vignette, basically, but it's along the lines of a Heritage Minute. And it's a very short documentary in the 70s talking about the history of Flin Flon and how it got its name.
If it didn't end with It's a part of our heritage. And, I don't remember it.
So, and a little bit more interestingly, how this book is connected to the town is that the original, we'll call him a prospector, I guess, who made the claim to the zinc and copper ore underneath the Flin Flon area, he is said to have found a copy of this book somewhere around that area during the time that he was staking the claim, and then decided to name the mine there the Flin Flon mine, and then the town that grew up around it took the name Flin Flon after this character. Oh. True story. Okay, number 3, Meleb, Manitoba. Once a small farming community founded by Ukrainian and Polish immigrants, this hamlet is now home to a functioning Ukrainian bake oven, replicas of the area's one-room schools, and a statue of 3 what? A. Soldiers. B. Mushrooms. C. Cows. Jem.
B. Mushrooms.
Ashlyn.
Ukrainian town. Cows. Even though I want it to be mushrooms.
And Lauren.
I'm going to have to go with mushrooms.
All right, Jem and Lauren, you are correct.
Damn it. Always go with the fun one.
Well, there is a memorial to the area's veterans at Meleb's Reunion Park. It's the statue of 3 mushrooms that keeps this place on the map. The area is well known for its wild mushroom picking, and the 3 types of mushrooms depicted were chosen to represent each of the area's former one-room schools.
Weird, but
Hey,
sure.
those are cool looking. I
Yeah.
just Googled it.
Yeah, they are cool looking, and it's just like there's like nothing left there except this park and a couple of things. Which Canadian town is home of the world's largest red paperclip, a monument that commemorates one man's outsized success at online bartering?
Oh, that guy.
Your options are A. Kipling, Saskatchewan, B. Kemble, Ontario, and C. Cairns, New Brunswick. Let's go with Lauren.
Saskatchewan.
Okay.
That was a thing,
Ashlyn.
right?
Yes. Kipling, Saskatchewan is one of the options. Ashlyn.
So I'm guessing that the monument is wherever he got the house that he ended up with. And so I'm not sure. I don't think it was in Ontario. I'm leaning toward either Saskatchewan or New Brunswick was the other one.
Cairns, New Brunswick.
Both have cheap housing.
Yeah, yeah.
It just sounds like something that would be in Saskatchewan.
Yeah, Saskatchewan was my first impulse, but then again, I don't want to pick the same. I'll go Saskatchewan because I want to. I'm not going to be wrong again on something I want to pick.
And Jem?
I'll also go with Kipling, Saskatchewan.
You are all correct.
Oh, good.
So, for anybody who isn't familiar with this story, and for those of us, if you recall, a BC man, so a British Columbia man, started with 1 red paperclip to trade. And through several online trades, he ended up with a house in his name in the town of Kipling. Now, he later donated the house back to the town, and as part of that trade deal, the town was to construct this paperclip monument. And they did. I actually knew of Kipling before all of this because it is the full-service town closest to the very tiny town where my family is from in Saskatchewan. And that town is called Windthorst. So that is how I knew of Kipling before all this happened.
And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that the original red paperclip was like a slightly oversized novelty paperclip, not like a normal red paperclip, wasn't it?
I do not know. I just know it was 1 red paperclip and went
I
from
mean,
there.
it was red, which automatically makes it better than a normal paperclip.
Okay, what is Melita, Manitoba's claim to fame and nickname that led the town to build a 30-foot tall fruit named Sunny? Is it A, the area harvests the most fruit per hectare than any other part of the province? B, the area is warmer on average than most other parts of the province, called a banana belt? Or C, they have more days of sunshine than any other Manitoba town? Who do we start with? That was Lauren? We'll start with Ashlyn.
Sunshine.
Okay. Jem.
We go with A.
Okay. And Lauren.
I don't know why they would use a banana for fruit grown in Manitoba. That would just seem weird. Well, we'll do a full spread and go B with the banana belt thing.
Lauren, your strategy paid off. You are correct. So Melita is slightly warmer than many other parts of the province on average. And it's like a degree or two. But because of that, they use the term banana belt, which is a term for a sort of higher than average climate within a larger climate.
I have never heard that before. That is bizarre.
Yeah, no, it's a thing. And they built a 30-foot tall banana named Sunny. Google it. It's very happy. Okay.
I would just like to note that Kyle MacDonald, apparently, the original paperclip that he traded was a normal-sized red paperclip. It was not large or novelty in any particular way. In his first trade, apparently, he traded it for a fish-shaped pen in Vancouver.
Cool. All right. Question 6. If you travel to Vegreville, Alberta, you will find the world's largest sculpture of what? Which stands over 30 feet tall, the exterior of which is made of 2,208 equilateral triangles and 524 star shapes, and whose design necessitated the first computer modeling of this type of shape. The world's largest sculpture of either A, an Easter egg, B, a flying saucer, UFO style, or C, a torus, the cylindrical ring shape like an inner tube.
Like on Thrive.
Like on Thrive, you got it. Jem.
I'm going to go with a Taurus.
Okay.
A Ford Taurus.
Giant Ford Taurus. Ashlyn.
I don't know. There's probably not a lot of enormous Easter eggs, so I'm going to go with Easter egg.
Okay, and Lauren.
I'll do the spread again because I have no clue. So, what was the other one?
The flying
Beautiful.
saucer.
Flying saucer.
Okay, Ashlyn is correct.
Yay!
Vegreville is home to the world's largest Ukrainian Easter egg, or pisanka, if you will. The town has one of the highest per capita Ukrainian populations in Canada. And
Alberta?
Yep.
That surprises me.
There's a huge amount of Ukrainian people in Alberta, and many of their large roadside monuments have to do with Ukrainian things, especially food.
Is there a giant pierogi somewhere?
Yes. Glendon, Alberta has a pierogi on a fork.
I finally have a reason to go to
And then-
Alberta.
There's anotw town that has a piece of kubasa.
Are they
Visit
beside
the
each
whole
other?
buffet.
Like, yeah, they are. So yeah, there are a lot of Ukrainian people. I have, that's where my grandmother, when she emigrated from Ukraine, that's where she landed. There, and I still have Ukrainian family there. There's a lot of Ukrainian people. So to make this thing, they actually developed the first computer modeling of the egg shape in order to make this sculpture.
That's really cool.
Okay. Question 7. If you'd like to have an interesting night out, why not stop in Torrington, Alberta, to see the dioramas of a historical Torrington life as depicted by what? A. Stuffed gophers. B. Plastic army soldiers. C. Clown figurines. And we're going to go with Lauren first.
Clowns are terrifying. It's Alberta, right?
It is Alberta.
Oh, God. Soldiers might be a possibility, but gophers are actually there. Right? I'm going to go with gophers.
Okay. Jem.
I will also go Gophers. I think I know the inspiration behind C.
Go, 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 gophers. Da, 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 da.
Ashlyn.
It's got to be Gophers. It's got to be.
Yes, well played. The Torrington Gopher Hole Museum has 44 different dioramas with stuffed gophers depicting all elements of Torrington life. So,
Why?
it's actually because the town was downgraded from a village to a hamlet and they were trying to drive up tourism. That's why they built this. Yeah.
So C, I assume, was indeed inspired by the time I dragged you to House on the Rock?
Yeah, but looking at the pictures from the Gopher Hole Museum brought back flashbacks. It was bad. Okay, question number 8. Which of these Canadian currency coins are not depicted in giant roadside attractions? A, the toonie. B, the nickel. C, the dime. And Ashlyn.
Toonie, nickel, or dime?
Correct.
Okay, I'm pretty sure there's a giant dime in Nova Scotia somewhere. I think there's a giant nickel in Manitoba, so it's got to be the toonie.
Okay, Lauren.
I think the toonie is too noony. So, yeah, I think it's the toonie.
They've got a paperclip for paperclip guy. The Toonie's older than him.
Yeah,
Jem.
but I know, I agree with Ashlyn that there's a blue nose in Nova Scotia, but yeah, toonie, sorry.
Okay, Jem?
I was originally thinking dime, but then I'm like, nope. Dime definitely has one. It has to, based on its origin. So there's probably a nickel like made of nickel or something somewhere. I'm gonna say toonie.
Okay. It's the dime.
Really?
Oh
yeah.
my god.
There is a toonie, a loonie, and a nickel, all in small towns in Ontario. Yeah, the nickel is famously in Sudbury because they mine and smelt nickel there.
Damn, that's probably the one I thought was in Manitoba.
All right, question 9. Glover's Harbor, Newfoundland is home to a statue of which aquatic creature? A lobster, B, a giant squid, C, a humpback whale. And let's go with Lauren first.
Squid, because it's creepy.
For no other reason, right?
No clue, but I'm going with squid.
Okay, Jem.
Lobster.
Kate. And Ashlyn.
Torn between lobster and a whale. Gonna go with lobster.
Okay, Lauren is correct.
Oh
There
my
is a
God.
giant lobster, but it's in New Brunswick. And I'm sure that there are humpback whale statues, but not in Glover's Harbor, Newfoundland. It is a giant squid. Would you guys like to know why it's a giant squid there?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, the 2-scale model of the giant squid in Glover's Harbor, Newfoundland, is there to commemorate the time in 1878 that fishermen caught a giant squid that was more than 20 meters long. It remains the world's largest giant squid to date.
Wow.
All right, last question. As part of the 1967 Canadian Centennial celebrations, the city of St. Paul, Alberta, built what to encourage multiculturalism and togetherness, as well as encourage tourists? A giant chuck wagon. B, a giant teepee. C, a UFO landing pad.
Landing pad. I don't care whose turn it is first.
You're just going with it?
Yeah.
Okay, Jem.
I don't know. TP seems like something I'd do. Wait, which province?
Alberta.
Yeah. Okay.
You're going with teepee?
Yep.
Okay. And Lauren.
I don't know. It's Alberta. Do they actually want to acknowledge Indigenous people out there? And would it be the correct cut? Sorry. Oh, shit.
Remember, this was 1967, so...
Oh, yeah, that's a
If-
long time.
TP.
TP? Okay. Ashlyn, you are correct.
Absolutely, yeah.
Remember, it was 1967.
Yep. The town wanted to encourage people to come together and visit from all over the world and other worlds.
Yeah.
Yep. It
The
still stands there
multiculturalism,
today.
for some reason, I was just like, yeah, that's not, they definitely probably built a UFO pad because who cares about the cultures we actually have here already?
You know, but there is like on it, there's like a time capsule and there are decorations representing all the different provinces and territories of Canada and things like that. So there's like more to it, but it was also like a product of its time. You know, we were in the space race. Everything was, people really thought that we would be able to get in contact with aliens and that. And so it still stands today. There's a flying saucer shaped gift shop attached to it. All right. So the grand totals are Jem with 4 points, Ashlyn with 5, and Lauren with 6.
Yay!
Well done, guys.
Correct.
I hope you liked my very fun quiz.
Lauren is kicking our asses.
Ashlyn, I'm sorry to say that since you will presumably not be earning any points in your own segment, Lauren only has to get a single point to defeat you.
Well, and unfortunately, I have also chosen a topic in which Lauren has a distinct advantage. So I have decided to do my quiz on facts I have learned while watching the Cincinnati Zoo home safaris.
Oh, that's adorable. I love it.
So every day at 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Cincinnati time, The Cincinnati Zoo does a live Facebook video with one of their animals, or a group of their animals, or sometimes they take their penguins for walks, or whatever, and they tell you things about their animals, and it's delightful. Some of their presenters are better than others. There was one notable day where it was the snow leopards, which were my favorite animal in the whole world, and they just like had the cameraman was just like trained on a rock the whole time and was like, look, there's kind of a blurry something behind it that might be a snow leopard. And the person who was doing the presenting like might have done a week in the snow leopard exhibit. Most of them are great though, so you should watch them. They're delightful. These are all facts I have learned from the Cincinnati zookeepers of varying skill and knowledge. So if any of them are wrong, I would like to just put the blame straight on them. All right. Okapi babies poop for the first time at what age? Is it A, 1 week, B, 3 weeks, C, 8 weeks, or D, 12 weeks old? And because Lauren has an advantage here, I'm going to make them go last on each question so that they do not influence your answers. So, Jem.
I'm going to go with 3 weeks.
Laura?
All of those seem like way too many weeks to go without pooping. That's a big jump between 3 and 8. I'm going to go 8.
And Lauren.
I can't remember, but I'm also going to go 8.
It is about 8 weeks. They can go anywhere between 6 and 10 weeks before their first defecation. They stay in a very small area of the forest when they're first born. And the theory is that not pooping for a long time when they're first born keeps them from attracting predators to their little den. So their mother will wander off during the day to browse and then come back occasionally to feed the baby. And the baby just stays in this little place without pooping for 2 months. It's wild.
Oh, nature is
And they're
weird.
not small animals. Like they're pretty big. So
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty wild. Okay, number 2. What is the Cincinnati Zoo's most expensive animal to feed? Is it A, tigers, B, rhinoceros, C, Chinese alligators, or D, manatees? Laura first.
What do manatees eat? I know they're herbivores. Rhinoceros will eat like grass and stuff, so they can probably feed them hay. Tigers are probably pretty expensive. I've been watching Tiger King, so apparently it's very expensive.
The
to
Walmart
feed
trucks.
tigers. Oh God! Oh, it's so awful. I feel like I don't feel like a bad person watching it, but I do feel bad watching it, but not enough to stop.
To get the full story, listen to the Wondery podcast about Joe Exotic. It's much more nuanced.
Well, you can tell, like I'm near the end now, and you can tell that there was a lot of creative editing going on and creative storytelling, shall we say.
Yeah.
But it's still a fun ride. That's okay. So tigers are the obvious choice. I feel like okay, so it was tigers, rhinoceros, what
Chinese
else?
alligators.
Chinese alligators
Or manatees.
Manatees. I'm going to say manatees.
Gem.
I was thinking Chinese alligators, but then I'm thinking about the volume that a manatee would have to... Because the thing with alligators is they don't actually eat that often. They move very slowly, or at least that's the impression that I have, which may be completely inaccurate. I'm going to go with a manatee.
And Lauren.
I was sure it was manatee, and then I was doubting myself, but I'm still going to go manatee.
It is the manatee. Okay, This is the weirdest fact I have learned from the Cincinnati Zoo. So apparently manatees eat like really high quality greens. And so they just need to buy like so much freaking romaine lettuce and stuff that they're more expensive than tigers to feed, which is absolutely bananas.
That's
Like,
pretty amazing.
makes
Bananas.
no sense. No, but Fiona does.
She does.
Fiona's their little baby hippo. So that fact just blew my mind, that the frickin' manatees are the most expensive animal in this enormous zoo to feed.
I figured it had to be something about it, or I thought maybe they needed to culture their own aquatic species, like plant species or something, and that's what drove up the price or something like that. But
Yeah, it's just the sheer quantity of good greens that they need to eat.
yeah,
With herbivores, like especially the large herbivores, you're looking at volume there too. Like not a lot of calories in that romaine lettuce.
Yeah. All right. This one is just free answer. There are no options. Why are giraffes' tongues black? Jem.
Oh, shoot. Feel like I learned about this relatively recently. My best guess is that I don't know if this will be an accurate enough answer, but it's the color of their skin. Their natural pigment is black.
Okay, that's specific enough. Laura.
I was going to say something along the lines of the same thing as Jem there, that it has to do with the same tone as their skin.
Okay. And Lauren.
Sunscreen, because their tongues spend so much time outside of their mouths.
You remembered. Yeah. So
That's good. I like that.
apparently giraffes barely sleep, like maybe 20 minutes a couple times a day. So they only take these short naps, and basically the rest of their lives they spend with their tongues out grabbing leaves and branches off of the trees. And so if their tongue was the normal like pink color that most animals' tongues are, it would be sunburnt from just spending so much time out in the sun. So it is black to increase its resistance to UV rays.
Sun's out, tongues
That's
out.
hilarious. Why don't they sleep?
I don't know. So strange.
That's so weird. Or is it just that they've gotten to such a size now that they can't afford to stop eating because like we were just discussing, the whole volume
It takes so much.
caloric thing? I don't know.
Yeah, and if they slept, they would be really vulnerable because, like, all predators can see them.
Yeah,
They
and
can't
you
hide.
can't really curl up very well. Like, that's so weird that they don't sleep.
Little naps. I
Okay.
would like that. I would like more time to be awake. Sleeping is such a waste of time.
No, you wouldn't.
No, don't encourage Jem. Don't
Don't.
encourage him.
Don't encourage me. I'm finally learning naps again.
All right, no multiple choice for this one. What do binturongs smell like? Laura.
Poop. Because that's what most zoo animals actually smell like. I don't know.
They have a distinct smell that is not the usual zoo animal smell.
Okay.
They're also known as bear cats.
Like a musk or like the skunk smell? I'll go with skunk smell.
And Jem.
I'll go with a sweet fruit smell.
And Lauren.
I don't remember. I remember that Rico the porcupine smells like onions. Sorry, was that another question?
Nope.
Okay.
Only one scent question.
Bananas?
So binturongs smell like buttered popcorn.
Oh, right.
Why?
It's apparently very distinct, and all of the keepers comment on it, and they go home craving popcorn because they smell exactly like buttered popcorn somehow. There's nothing in their diet that would give them that smell. It's just their natural aura.
Cute.
Buttered popcorn. They're freaking adorable too, and they have these like long, furry, prehensile tails that they wrap around everything while they climb. Delightful. Right, one from today's safari. How long do scorpions carry their young on their backs? So apparently scorpions are very good mothers and they take care of their babies, which is pretty strange for
For an arthropod?
yeah. So do they carry their babies for about 2 days, about 2 weeks, about 2 months, or up to a year? I'm going to say Jem's turn.
I'm going to go with 2 months.
Laura
I'm going to do 2 weeks.
and Lauren.
I thought it was only a specific type of scorpion, the one that we looked at today. Didn't think it was all scorpions. I could
Well,
be
what
wrong,
about
though.
this scorpion?
I think a year.
It is about 2 weeks.
Yay!
So they kind of glue them onto their backs. And I looked it up because I couldn't remember the exact number of days. And it seems to be like a widely done thing among scorpions. So it wasn't just this one particular kind of scorpion. So most scorpions are a dark color. Their exoskeleton is kind of black. But when they're born, they're super, super white because their exoskeletons haven't grown in and hardened yet. So the scorpion mom excretes this like glue and glues them to her back until they do their first molt and they harden up a little bit so they're not so vulnerable.
Oh, cool.
And even after they come off of her back, they'll stay with her for about a year. So that's probably where you got that.
Yeah. I
But
remember looking at the baby scorpions and thinking they were really cute. And then apparently I didn't retain any information.
Well, you did kind of have a little nap in there too. Okay. How big are the eggs of the Japanese giant salamander? So the Japanese salamander is one that Lauren hasn't seen yet because we're a little bit behind, but I went and watched it. Are they about the size of a pea, about the size of a marble, about the size of a tennis ball, or about the size of a softball? The Japanese giant salamander. Laura.
Gonna say tennis ball.
Jem.
I'll say marble.
And Lauren.
Was golf ball an option?
No.
What
Would you
was
like
the
to
third?
make it one?
What was the third?
Right an answer.
About the size of a pea, the size of a marble, the size of a tennis ball, or a softball.
Oh, I have no idea. Softball.
It is about the size of a marble. Jem's got this one.
Oh,
So
Even a
they
giant
are-
salamander can't be that giant.
why not?
Like they're pretty decent size. Like they looked like they were about this big.
Oh, wow. That's bigger than I
Yeah,
expected.
they only live in really fast-moving cold waters in Japan. Like that's the only place they live. There's also apparently a Chinese giant salamander, which is horning in on their territory. One of the causes of their decline, and they've never been successfully bred outside of Japan. And the Cincinnati Zoo is one of the only places outside of Japan that has one of these creatures. So they're trying to get a breeding program going there. They're pretty neat looking. Okay. How many vertebrae does the neck of a screech owl have? So how many vertebrae in just the neck of a screech owl? Is it 7, 10, 14, or 23? Let's make Lauren go first, since they have also not watched this one.
I was going to say this is another one I haven't watched, but they've got they do the owl neck thing, so I got to say 23.
That is my
And-
rationale as well.
Okay, Jam is also going 23. Laura?
23 seems like a lot, but I like their line of thinking. I'm going to say 14.
And Laura pulls it out. It is 14. It is twice the number that humans have. We have 7 vertebrae in our neck, and they have 14.
And we
So
can
that
do a
is-
90-degree turn, and they can do, like, what, a 180?
Pretty much, yeah. It is super cool to watch them like sitting on someone's arm, and the arm moves, and the face is still staring at you. Super creepy and weird. It was very cute. And he was like super young and still very fluffy. It was super adorable.
Aww.
Very much recommend. And he kept getting distracted by a squirrel.
Do all owls have that many vertebrae, or
It seems like almost all of them have that many, yeah.
okay? Because one of the freakiest things in my life was watching a great gray just turn its head 180 degrees to look at me.
Ooh. Okay. How fast can an ostrich run? Can it run 6 miles an hour, 12 miles an hour, 25 miles an hour, or 40 miles an hour? And I apologize that this is in miles per hour, but that is how the Cincinnati Zoo told me about it.
You couldn't be bothered with the conversion?
Nope. Only facts I learned from the Cincinnati Zoo. I did look up a few of them to confirm, as I have mentioned, but let's ignore that. Jem, you first.
40. Oh, no, miles per hour. Yeah, what the hell, 40.
No.
Short stretches.
Okay. Well, I'm going to say 12.
Yeah, that's probably more realistic.
And Lauren?
This is another one I haven't watched. Mm-hmm. I'll go 25 just to, beat the spread.
Jem is correct with his wild answer.
Whoa.
They can actually go up to 43 miles an hour. I thought that was too specific and you would clock it on me.
Yeah, I knew they were super fast, but 40 miles per hour?
43 miles an hour.
That doesn't make
Probably
any
just for short
sense.
times, but
yeah,
dang.
that's got
It's
to be a
what,
burst.
like 80 kilometers an hour?
Yeah, it's
69.
wild. 60.
Yeah, it's super fast.
Oh, yeah.
I
Okay.
googled it.
Yeah. Impressive. Also, very not smart. Holy moly. Gigantic bird. Like the one we were watching, one of them was 300 pounds, one of them was 240 pounds. Brain literally the size of a walnut. Just no processing power in there.
It's all in the legs. That's all they can do is run. They don't know where they're going, but they know they can run.
Oh, and I learned an explanation for the whole ostrich head in the sand thing that I did not know. So it is a myth that they bury their heads in the sand. However, if they see a predator, they will lower their head, which may have given the impression to people who were looking at them from far away that they were burying their heads. But when they lower their heads, apparently it acts as camouflage, because to a lot of the predators that are out there, they just look like termite mounds at that point, which are kind of everywhere in the African environment that they live in. So it is a weird sort of, I am a hill, you can't see me. Okay, what was the first animal taken off the endangered species list? This is specifically under the Endangered Species Act in the U.S.
Are you giving us examples?
Nope.
Oh,
Lauren.
Panda?
Jem?
This is definitely in Wild Ones, because I remember reading it, and I also seem to recall that it went into decline again. I'm not sure about that though. Is it the bald eagle?
Okay.
ooh, that's a good guess.
I don't know. We'll see.
And Laura.
I can think of a cat that's about to be on the endangered species list.
Felis ampersandus?
Yes. How did you know? Oh, okay. Panda, bald eagle. That's really good. Peregrine falcon.
None of the above. It was the American alligator.
Oh, because people stopped making boots out of them, or what?
Yeah, so the American alligator was in the first list of endangered animals when the Endangered Species Act came into force, and they bounced back so well that they were also the first one taken off of it because nobody was allowed to hunt them for leather, and their habitat wasn't really the problem. It was all the hunting, so that they were able to come back really quickly after that. So it was only 20 years between the time that they were put on and the time they were taken off. And they are currently listed as least concern, which I thought was pretty cool to go from endangered to least concern. And they had a tiny baby American alligator, and it was, oh my God, adorable.
I panicked with the pandas. I know they're still on the list.
No, they're not.
Oh, I thought
Remember
they were
when we
were
talked
one of
about
the
endangered, they're now, they're vulnerable still, but they're not technically endangered anymore.
I thought they were one of the ones that were can only be saved with conservation. Like they're not viable in the wild anymore.
Well, they still need help, but that doesn't mean that they're not that they are endangered anymore.
Okay, never mind me.
There is a lot of politics involved in the definition of endangered and the people who put together the various lists.
Our last question is a simple true or false. Most turtles can swim faster than the fastest human. Michael Phelps. Lauren.
True.
Laura.
I'm going with true as well.
Jim.
True.
It is true. And
Yay!
so apparently Michael Phelps can swim at 3 miles an hour, which is pathetic, according to the...
What a loser.
How many gold medals does that guy have?
But compared to the rest of the animal kingdom, it's apparently just really sad. And it was super funny. The guy who was holding the tiny baby alligator was talking about how fast he could swim. And he just said it was so dismissive. He was just like, this guy can swim really fast, much faster than humans. But even a turtle can swim faster than the fastest human. He was just like...
Even a
really
turtle.
Yeah, and I looked it up. Apparently, ocean turtles can swim like 30 miles an hour or something bananas like that. It's so fast. Like 10 times as fast as the fastest human.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so most turtles can just zoom right past a swimming human.
Turtles are pretty cool.
Yeah.
I found that out from Finding Nemo.
Well, they were
They
in
also talk
currents,
like
though,
surfers
so
for some reason.
they had a hand. Okay, that's my animal quiz on the facts I learned from the Cincinnati Zoo Home Safari. You should tune in to the Cincinnati Zoo Home Safari. 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. whatever Cincinnati time is. Eastern? It's probably Eastern. Go like their Facebook page. It's delightful. I think the Assiniboine Zoo is doing similar ones, but, you know.
And there's some wildlife preserve in Australia that is just weren't they just like keeping the alligators off with a stick and
Yeah,
pile
Dave
of
is
meat in one
obsessed
pen?
with the Australian Reptile Park. So the Cincinnati Zoo does things like feed alligators at a safe distance using the tools that are meant for that thing. The Australian Reptile Park uses a stick, which they sometimes poke the alligators with to keep them from eating them.
So they use the Tiger King method, is what you're saying?
Basically, yeah. And they say things like, oh, you'll notice every time the crocodile grabs onto the meat, he closes his eyes because he's not sure if he got the meat or the guy's leg, and he's not sure if he's going to have to roll around to keep this meat. Like, oh, that's comforting. Other things that the Australian Reptile Park does includes like milking venomous snakes and spiders on camera, and sometimes they just go, ooh, oops, almost got me.
Oh boy.
Not the not the safest place to work, it looks like.
Australians, like I get the impression, just like based on their media, have a very cavalier attitude toward venomous animals,
Yeah.
presumably because the entire continent is crawling with them.
They kind of gotta. They have to get used to it. Otherwise,
Yeah.
they would just be in a state of paralysis from the anxiety.
Instead, they're all paralyzed with the venom.
Well, you add like this need to make it normal to live with these terrifying creatures all around, plus the cowboy attitude that you get in like parts of the Canadian and American West, and you got yourself a show.
So I know it was literally impossible for me to win because I would have had to get them all right and Lauren would have had to get them all wrong, and then they still would have tied with me. So how much did Lauren beat us by?
Let me add this up. Lauren did not do as well as I expected them to.
The back half was all questions I hadn't known.
Yeah, I did that on purpose.
I will note, just for a matter of record, that the Anthropocene Extinction episode was indeed episode 150 of this very podcast. So if you'd like to listen to those segments again, I think they were pretty fun. That's 6 episodes ago, because we do not do this show very often.
Thank you all for listening.
Thank you for your donations. Thank you for putting up with this. Although it has turned out to be a much meatier episode than expected. Have fun, Lauren.
We're sitting at 2.5 hours of raw audio, folks.
So Jem and Lauren both got 4 points, and Laura got 5. Woo! So Laura is the winner of my animal quiz.
Yay!
I hope I added that up correctly.
I'll take it.
I'll take it.
You said it can't be changed. Move on.
Yeah, I'll get our final scores here. One sec. I am at a slight disadvantage because I did not have the 5 bonus points available to me. But I am not whining.
You can choose not to count them.
Nah. You earned all 5 of those points, Lauren. Okay, so the final standings. We have Jem in last place with 13 points. And Laura with 17 points, then Ashlyn with 19, and Lauren takes it home with 23 points.
And
Well
this is
done.
why Lauren is our MVP on Trivia Night.
Yeah.
I can't believe I came in second. I felt like I was doing terribly.
You guys did great.
So for curiosity, without the bonus points, Lauren would still have won. I would still have 13. Laura would have had 16. Ashlyn would have had 16, and Lauren would have had 18. So the standings do not appreciably change. Lauren would be the winner either way. So congrats to them.
Thank you. Although I will point out that, it was, 45 questions? And 18 out of 45 is not a great batting average. Well, actually, it's a great batting average. It's not a great trivia average.
But you don't get
Well,
to answer your
it's
own, so you get to
Yeah.
take
so
off
it's only-
those.
You
Not
only
quite out
had
of 45.
18 out of 35 is better.
Right, I forgot that I asked questions.
Well, this has been a lot of fun. Thanks for joining me tonight, folks, and thanks to our listeners for taking the time to listen to this podcast. If you have some time and some goodwill to spare, you could donate to us at lueepodcast.com. We do accept one-time contributions or monthly contributions. And we also accept gratitude in the form of iTunes and Stitcher reviews. So thanks very much for those of you who've taken the time to review the show. And thanks for listening and thanks for caring. And we'll see you next month. What are we going to be talking about next month, Ashlyn?
I have no idea. I even opened up the topics channel a couple minutes ago to try and see what I could find. I don't know. I'll come up with something. Surprise.
It's a mystery. It's a mystery to everybody. Well, good night, folks.
Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Life, the Universe, and Everything Else is produced by Jem Newman and Ashlyn Noble, with mix and tech production by Jem Newman. If you want to support the show, the best way to do that is with a review on Apple Podcasts or Stitcher, or by sharing an episode with a friend. Original music is produced by Ian James, and this episode was edited by Lauren Bailey.